Welcome to the eLABorate Topics podcast, where we focus on lab-specific strategies for medical laboratory professionals. We're proud to be the healthcare detectives that work behind the scenes to get the results needed to influence medical decisions. Let's grow together and jump right into the lab.
Hi, friends. Welcome back to another episode of eLABorate Topics. I'm your host for today's show, Stephanie Whitehead. For those of you tuning in for the first time, I'm your podcasting laboratory leader and co-host for this show. The eLABorate Topics is a weekly podcast where myself and my co-hosts, Tawana Wilson and Lona Small, bring you topics about leadership and laboratory to help you excel inside and outside the workplace. And today I'm really excited for today's show. You already know these guests. They're two very special friends of our show, Joycelyn Jones and Kristine Talamante. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having us, Ms. Stephanie.
Now, Joycelyn and Kristine's bio will be in the link below on the show in case you haven't heard one of our previous shows, but I will let them take a moment to just reintroduce themselves to our listeners.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kristine Talamante. I'm a registered nurse, and I have a very strong interest in leadership and issues in the workplace.
I am Joycelyn Jones, a.k.a. Joyce. I am a certified human resource professional, and I enjoy assisting leaders to empower and engage their teams in order to get the outcomes that they desire at work.
Okay. Well, today we have a really fun episode for you guys. I think it's going to be fun, or we're going to try to have fun with it.
Of course.
So in this episode, myself and the ladies, we're going to be doing a roundtable discussion on unique management and workplace scenarios that often come up. So we all have been managers. We've overseen employees. We've worked in stressful environments for some time, and we've asked around for different workplace scenarios that have occurred. These are real-life scenarios that have happened in the workplace, and the three of us will discuss our thoughts on how we would approach each scenario. We've tried to pick scenarios that were offered to us that happen frequently, so the audience, the people listening, can feel like, these are relatable in real life. Be sure to comment or reach out to us if you've experienced any of these, or if you have different experiences or different ideas on how you would handle this. Like I said, I think this will be a fun one for you guys.
Yeah.
So, ladies, are you ready?
Ready.
I'm just going to read the scenario, guys, and you guys tell me. Like I said, we asked around to some different managers that we know, and we asked them, what are some workplace scenarios that you have struggled with or you really had a hard time with, and we're just going to talk about them, debate them, and talk about how we would have handled them. So this is our first scenario. Scenario number 1. Your department manager is best friends with your coworker. So you work in the laboratory. Mm-hmm. You've got a manager. Your manager is best friends with another technologist in the lab. You've noticed that this technologist, your coworker, is often given leniency on the schedule. They're given better work assignments, and they're often sitting in your manager's office casually talking or appearing to you to be casually talking. The relationship between this technologist, your coworker, and your manager makes you feel that the coworker is being favored and that the assignments are not fair. What would you do?
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
And you are, what is your position?
You are a technologist, and this is another technologist.
Oh,
you guys are both working the bench. You're equal, and your manager is friends with a... I know. All of us, because we've been in leadership roles and management roles for so long, are just shaking our heads. You guys can't see us in our body language, but we are shaking our heads at this one. Yeah. But go ahead, ladies. Kristine, tell me first, what would you do?
So I'm shaking my head because I'm thinking, wow, when you said that it appears to be casually talking, am I guilty of this as a manager, right? Mm-hmm. Have I been in
work-related conversation, but maybe laughing or something, and maybe somebody passes by and thinks, it's a black perception sometimes, thinks we're casually talking, but we really aren't, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the first thing I would do, and the first thing that I always try to do is fact find, right? I try to, fact find is numero uno, right?
Numero uno.
Yeah, because if you go just based on a feeling or, walking by one time and seeing this or whatever, then, it's a he said, she said type of situation.
So you're trying to say you perceive that they're best friends, but maybe they're not best friends.
Maybe they aren't. Maybe they don't like each other and they're trying to do a group therapy every Monday just so that they can be working together. You never know. So you fact find. If it's bothering you, I would fact find.
How would you find if two people in the workplace are actually friends?
Well, I would say I'm very direct.
Okay.
So I would say to my supervisor, the person that's equal to me, I feel is not as much at fault in this situation, in my opinion. I feel like it's the manager that has kind of the control of that situation.
Okay.
And in, classes that we go to and things that we learn, your emotional intelligence will tell you cannot have favorites.
Yeah.
You cannot even appear to have favorites.
Right.
So I would go to the manager, and if this is something that bothers me, just say, can I be honest with you? It appears to me, and maybe some others, or, whatever, that this is kind of, a friendship that's going on, or maybe it's a relationship that's too close or whatever, and it's affecting me, and state how it's affecting you. It's affecting me because I feel like I do the same amount of work as this person, and this person gets some, higher job or gets a favorite, gets an award or something, right? And so the other reason why I feel like the manager should know is, did they hire, the thing I would want to know, and I guess it doesn't matter, but at this point, did they hire their best friend, or did they just become friends from working together?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point.
Right? But either way, it's not good.
It's not good.
Right. Yeah. Because if you hire your best friend, well, that's not good from the beginning.
Well, I like what you said about the fact find.
Yeah.
That's important. I mean, you made me think of a lot of things. One, as a leader and as an HR professional, I think we kind of preach and teach to the fact of building relationships, right? And so that's so important that you build relationships with your team members. But you bring out a point as far as, okay, when is building this relationship seems to be unprofessional, or and we have to be realistic and say we all kind of enjoy speaking to other people more than others. There are people that you just connect with, just like all three of us. There's a connection you enjoy, and so you can laugh and talk about a favorite show, or your child is the same age, and all of that is great. But you get to a point to where when does it look like we are a little more chummy than the next coworker of mine, especially if you are in leadership. So I think that's just an important balance that you have to have. But putting myself as this person, as the technologist, as a tech, and I see my other coworker, the tech, and I feel that as though our boss is portraying this favoritism. It takes a very mature person, I think, to address that.
That's true too. So
right, versus just going straight to HR or going over their head and complaining.
Yes.
You have to really be mature enough to say, this bothers me. You seem to be besties with, Veronica over there, and you don't talk to me as much as you talk to Veronica. Who's really doing that? I don't know. What are your thoughts, Steph?
So, one, and like I said, these are real scenarios that were submitted to us. So to me, it's unfortunate to know that this is happening in somebody's work environment. I feel bad for the individual that is having to go to work every day and feel like that this is their experience in the workplace, because it obviously impacts the way you work and how you feel about your team and how you feel about your workplace. And you could be working for a great organization, and this, could make you leave the organization, Okay. To me, and I've been in management for several years, to me the most unfortunate part of this scenario is the manager in this. Because to me, and if you are doing this or you feel like this was submitted about you and you're listening, I want you to know that if you cannot see, manager, that this scenario will not end up well for you, then I feel bad for you. It's going to be a tough lesson that you're going to have to learn when this unfolds if you don't auto-correct the situation quickly. Because I agree with Kristine, the manager holds the responsibility 100% in this entire scenario.
Right.
I do agree with her point about the employee needing to fact find, because there are a lot of perceptions here, right?
Exactly.
They appear to be best friends. She appears to get leniency.
Yeah.
She appears to get the better assignments. When overall, leniency is through your lens, right? From an HR perspective, like Joyce was talking, when an event happens or a mistake happens or you need to discipline an employee, the employee has a right to their confidentiality. So you as a technologist may not know the extent of what happened to that employee. They could have been written up. They could have been put on probation. They could have been demoted. You wouldn't know those.
Your business.
You wouldn't know those things from the outside looking in. You would just say, oh, nothing happened to them, and they did X, Y, and Z. But you may not know the extent because it happens behind closed doors, and they have a right to their privacy and confidentiality like you would. But for the manager, I would say to create an environment where the appearance is there of another employee being in your office for too long, where the appearance is there of favoritism or anything that opens the door for it to seem that way. I think it just creates like a downhill slide of morale and complaints, and then people not being as productive, and then people gossiping. And, like I agree with Joyce, everybody wants to be friendly at work. Everybody wants to have friends at work, but I've got a hardcore rule that when you're in a position of management, you can be friendly, but you can't have friends. You have to be able to be objective at all times with all of your employees. And to do that, you just can't have friendships, because that gets in the way of that, and it blurs the lines. And the minute I have to coach you or mentor you or give you constructive criticism, it puts our friendship at jeopardy, but it also puts our laboratory quality at jeopardy. So I think this is a slippery slope. I would ask the manager to go back and really consider what they're doing here. If they hired a friend or if they just became friends. If you hired your friend, now come on. Come on. How you think that was going to work out? Come on.
No, that's not smart.
And sometimes people have to learn lessons by, like, touching the stove, right? There are a lot of management lessons I had to learn.
By getting burned.
And then it's like, ooh, I'm not going to do that anymore, and I probably need more training in this management area. So, everything is a learning experience.
Yeah.
Nothing is incorrect except for this. But I will say that, there's no final destination when it comes to managing. It's a journey. It's a journey that you'll always be on, and then you'll always learn new tools to put in your toolbox, new information, new books, new ideas that you'll acquire, and you'll add those, and you'll continue to build to your management style. But this, don't know about this one.
Right.
I agree with you, Stephanie. I think it's sad that somebody sent this in because it kind of puts a bad spin on it, the fact that this happens. But I think that if, as a manager, you let your team know that, hey, I'm human too. Just like I hold you accountable for things, I would appreciate if you could hold me accountable for things, and make it an environment where if they do say, can I come talk to you about something? Can I be honest about something
Wow.
that's hurting my feelings?
Yeah.
Then you're going to get what you're going to get, but it's
Right.
going to be true,
Yeah.
right? Because then you'll know. And then, because then the opposite side of that is to not say anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the employee, and what did they say? The one that's the most powerful is the employee that just doesn't say anything and then just leaves. And
yeah, exactly. Because if they're not speaking to you, they're speaking to someone else.
Yeah.
They'll go either to, outside of the organization, like you said, or feel more comfortable going to HR or someone else to complain instead of having that open door and making people feel comfortable. But I think as a manager, I think, you almost have to be challenge yourself to have the same type of relationship with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? As we're stating, there's some people that you just get along with, but, maybe there's someone that is different on your team, but how can you connect with that person?
Yeah.
Try to spend just as much time, just, trying to connect with them because, the key is making people feel comfortable, building those relationships. And so, you should challenge yourself as a person to try to have fun, be just consistent with everyone on the team. If you buy and give someone, a birthday cake, one individual, you have to do the same for everyone. And so if not, then you can really get yourself in a lot of trouble as a manager, and that's what's going to happen if you're not consistent.
At the very least, I think the person who is experiencing this and submitted this scenario is not engaged. Is not engaged because they feel like there are things happening in their department that are impacting the relationship with one of the people that they feel like is responsible for the culture in their area. So I think it's just unfortunate. That was a good one, though.
It was.
Ooh. All right, ladies.
Yeah, it happens.
Scenario number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Scenario number 2 is a doozy. Uh-oh. Okay. Let's talk. The next person who needs our assistance states, eLABorate topics, ladies. Help me, please. I work on the day shift, and I have a team of individuals that I've worked with for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
The day shift has a certain quote-unquote chemistry within our team that is great, and we all frequently are able to work together consistently. So that's good. When you work with a team and you guys got a flow and you know how each other works, the day just goes faster. It's more productive. You get things done. You feel comfortable with each other. So it sounds like that's the case here.
Okay.
But unfortunately, over time, this listener has begun to notice that one of her team members' working style and productivity has changed. Not for the better, for the worse. This particular person appears to complete tasks slower than they did before, and they are starting to take longer breaks, and they no longer act like they are part of the team. They're more distant. They're not as talkative. They're more aloof. So this change in their work habits has forced our listener to, quote-unquote, pick up the slack. They've got to answer the phone because this person on break.
Yeah.
They've got to receive more samples or, help run their section of the laboratory because this person is on their phone, being more aloof, not being part of the team anymore. We don't know what has caused this change, but what would you advise this listener to do? What would you say, Joyce?
Communication is key. And the thing is, if we do not effectively communicate, we tell ourselves a story.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever story that this individual has told themselves, as to why this person is not working, could be something, negative, and you truly just fail to understand someone's situation, to have empathy. This individual, again, you almost have to make it up. Could this individual be going through a divorce? Could this individual be having some personal issues?
But is that your business, though?
No. Well, in order to hopefully maybe understand and have empathy, because, this may be just a bad day. Kristine came
temporary.
to work.
It's temporary.
Right.
Okay.
She, the children were horrible that day. The husband's getting on her nerves.
True story.
You know what I mean?
True story.
And so is she a little frustrated today? Is she not pulling her weight today? This week, okay, and she's she communicated. She had a flat tire. She's, something is going on. And I think when we're able to talk and have an understanding with one another, then I can move forward with helping. But if you don't talk to me, I don't know what's going on with you, then I automatically think, okay, you just want, you're not pulling your weight, and it's not fair. And so now I'm frustrated, and now we have a problem.
The trickle-down effect.
Exactly. So, if we can just communicate, maybe I can understand in order to help you. So that's what I would say.
Kristine, what you think?
Well, I agree with Joycelyn in that we do have to communicate. I think it is a little bit out of the norm to just start asking somebody, what's their problem, what's going on, hey, unless you really do know them and you can say, hey, are you going to work today, or which you wouldn't do, hopefully. But if this is a temporary thing and this is a family type of, like they said, this is a group that's in sync, and they kind of know everybody's, how they act and what time they get there and when they go to lunch and all that. And then everybody notices. It's almost like if they're a family, then I would hope that there was a closeness and self-awareness of that person. So ideally, if that person came, this has happened to me, where I've had like 2 or 3 days, and then I'll come in on one day and be like, guys, look, I just wanted to let y'all know, I know I've been off. They're redoing my house. We had to sleep in this. We ended up in a hotel because then our water went off. This happened, that happened. And I know that, and everybody's like, it's okay. That's fine. No, but that's not my best self. And I just want you to know that I recognize that, and I apologize for coming in and saying negative things or coming in late or not pulling but I appreciate you helping. And so that's ideal, right? That the person themselves recognize it.
Yeah, and then I don't have no problem helping you.
Right. Then everybody's like, hey, you know what? Just let me know. I'll go mow your lawn, or I'll go bring you a casserole or whatever, right? But the other thing is it because this employee is distant? Is it because they're not engaged anymore, like Stephanie said? Maybe the challenge is gone, or maybe something happened and we don't know. Like you said, death in the family, divorce, laid off spouse, kids acting crazy. One thing I've done, again, it's touchy, but I'm banking on the fact that this is a group that knows each other, would always be, and one thing I learned, and I'm sure you learned in HR, is to ask permission, right? And say, do you have a few minutes to speak privately? If they don't want to talk to you, they'll say no. If they ignore you, that is a no. But if they say, sure, what's up, then you don't make it obvious in front of everybody and just say, hey, Joycelyn, I know that you always get here at 8, and, and that's cool because we don't really need to be here till 8:15, but you're always the first one here, and you set up the coffee, and you check the emails for us so that when we come in, we already know what to do. I noticed that lately you haven't been doing that, so I've kind of taken that over, but I just need to know are you done? Do you want me to take that over? Like, is there something going on that you want to talk, that you trust to tell me about? And leave it at that. If they say, I appreciate that, there is something going on. I really am not comfortable talking about it, but just know that this is going on, and I am glad that you talked to me. I will step up. Then I would consider that a success.
I would too. You really have to put your big girl pants or shoes or whatever and address issues and face them. You know what I mean?
And be okay with what the answer is.
Be okay with whatever they tell you versus just not speaking at all, because that person could feel like, man, nobody cares about me. They could be silently, that's their cry for help.
That's true.
Change behavior is it's a reason why someone's behavior has changed. And they could feel like, what, my team, they don't even care about me, because not one person, like I said,
even asked me.
I come to work every day at 7:30. I had a smile. I made coffee. I did this. Now I'm going through this depression. and no one has even said anything.
That's true. I really like what you said about asking the employee, can we talk privately, because that takes away the feeling of feeling ambushed. And for the few minutes it might take you and this employee to move to a private area, they're able to mentally process what's about to happen. We're about to talk privately, right? So that's better than just walking up to somebody and being like, what's going on? Because then they're not ready for that conversation. They can lash out. And all, things can happen. But if
there may be people around that they don't feel comfortable talking to.
And again, we don't know what the problem is, so it might be something very personal. Again, I think even if the person doesn't feel comfortable telling you, this is the reason why, at least we've brought the situation of the lack of help, teamwork, the lack of help, the change in your workflow to your attention. That way you can be more cognizant of it, and you can pick up the slack that now I had to start picking up for you. So at least I just brought that to your attention, and also I opened the door for you to talk. Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be something if this employee started telling you things that they actually needed help with, and you were actually able to really sincerely help them from a really good place in your heart, and you were able to kind of help them move through something that might be happening to them. Or, like you said, they just might be bored and unchallenged and just not be aware that they started to slip and slide, and they just needed somebody to say, hey, come on, you're taking a really long way.
Your part of the puzzle is very meaningful on our team, and I don't know if anybody's ever told you this, but you really are the backbone of this team. And you getting here early helps in so many ways.
Hello.
We all need coffee.
But sometimes it's like with your kids, you only tell them the bad stuff, but it's the same way at work. If that person says, well, I didn't even think you'd notice when I got here. And you're like, really? Seriously? Because when I come here and I see your car, I'm like, yes, she made the coffee. I got my list printed out. I'm ready to go. And then I don't mind staying late, but I'm not an early person because I've got to take my kids, So it's like maybe I never told you that, and now this is your opportunity to show them their worth. And so then it's kind of like a win-win. Well, I'm sorry that I was doing that. I didn't realize it, but thank you for noticing it, and I appreciate that.
People need to feel valued at work, and that is one of the Gallup questions, for employees. Do you feel valued? Do you feel heard? And so making sure our employees feel as though they're important and what they brings value to the team is key. Not only that, like you're saying, that awareness. The hardest person to see in the room
is you.
Hello. I can see Kristine clearly. I can see her cute pink and green and her glasses. I can see Miss Stephanie, her hair in the bun, her Kendra Scott. I can see everyone but me. And so sometimes if I am slacking or if I do have a bad attitude or if I am shrugging, I may haven't noticed that. But you all can see it clearly, and bring it to my attention is
And I think just like the previous one, hey, things happen in people's life. Divorces, people got kids. There are deaths, there are relationships, there are people going through things.
People, you're gaining weight, you're losing weight.
You can't fit your clothes. You wanted for an outfit. The outfit didn't fit. It's just,
your best friend sleeping with your man.
That's a whole other show. That is a different podcast.
What's happening?
You're trying to lose 2 pounds, and then your friend, lost 50.
Right.
She's trying to say she's fat.
I'm trying to work out, and it's Girl Scout cookie season. And now
it's harassing you to buy $20 worth of Girl Scout.
Now I got 5 boxes of Samoas staring at me.
I don't need.
All right, number 3 is a touchy one. That was a good one, guys.
Man.
Number 3 is a touchy one.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to ask the listeners to put your seatbelts on.
All right.
Buckle up. Because number 3 is something that it is very hard for managers, for employees, for everybody. We all struggle with this, and it's come up in many facets as I've managed, and it is social media. Because it's really become a tool for businesses to advertise, to market. People, we talk about the Kardashians. They use it as a focus group. You feel like you are connected.
It's a way of life.
It's a way of life. It's part of our culture. It's how we connect with the president. You can get into a Clubhouse chat room and chat with people that you would have to spend lots of money to chat with normally. And so this scenario says you are the supervisor of a busy lab department. Several employees have pulled you aside to tell you that one of your employees is continuously posting negative statuses or posts on their social media. When you've rounded with this employee, just casually asking how things are going in the laboratory, they have not shared any of these negative remarks or any of the issues that others are seeing on their social media with you. You are concerned that this employee is posting negatively about you and about the workplace. However, they are not addressing this issue with you as their supervisor when you talk to them. So you know that there is an issue. But when I come to you and I say, hey, Joyce, how are things going in the lab today? Or is there anything you need? Anybody you want to recognize?
Wonderful.
Everything's great, boss. Everything's wonderful. I love working here. But then you fire it up on social media, And so what are you supposed to do? I mean, again, I go back to the question I asked for the other scenario. Is that even your business? Is that even your business to know what's in their status on their social media? It's their personal social media. That's where they vent. That's where they...
Exactly. And if I had $1 every time I seen that complaint in HR, I would be able to retire rich right now.
Give me $1.
Yeah. Because like you said, that's, someone's private platform, and, if they choose to go to work, smile, cheese, and be happy with everyone in everyone's face, and then I go home and I just post that I've had a horrible day. I can't stand Kristine and Stephanie. I hate them.
Meme. Gift.
Yeah.
Emoji.
Is that something wrong? Is there something wrong with that?
I don't know that there's anything actually wrong with that. That's why I personally have a personal, and this is personal. You can choose to adopt it if you would like to. If you're a listener, this is not advice that I'm giving you. This is on my own personal mantra. But I am not friends with any employee that works with me on any social media platform besides LinkedIn. And I do that intentionally on purpose. One, because I don't want to see the negative things you might post about me. Like, how many people actually like their boss, you know? How many people are not judgmental towards the things their boss says, does, the decisions they make, the way that they choose to go about things. And so they, like Joyce said, may use their social media as their own personal platform to vent those things, to voice those things. And I don't want to read those things that you are doing the vent and then internalize it and then bring it to the workplace and then it turns into a whole other thing. So I just choose not to see it.
A lot of people do that. They use their social media platform to vent, to joke. Sometimes they're not even being serious. They're just wanting to post silly, funny things.
Right. Somebody could take it personally, but you don't need to know that. That's none of your business unless you make it your business.
Are you guys friends with your employees on Facebook or social media?
I don't have Facebook. I mean, I have it, but I don't use it. There's probably maybe 2 to 3 that I'm friends with just because we were friends before. But I don't do a lot of – I try not to do a lot of things that aren't just kind of benign. But I do think that I've changed. I initially used to say, how could somebody do that? What if you apply for a job and they pull up your likes or they pull up this and they see that you like this or they like that, right? I mean, we'd all be in trouble, right? Because we'd be like, I like this short dress and, I look at what I wore to this and it's like, oh, man. But now I realize that, like Stephanie says, it's not any of my business. Now, if somebody is putting it on the Internet, then they know that it's there forever. Smart enough to know that anybody could see it, the president of the hospital or organization or the lab or the president of the United States, right? Whoever can see it. And it's there forever, even if you delete it. And so if they are two-faced, if you will, if they're coming to work and showing one face and then, stabbing you in the back or stabbing the organization in the back on their social media, well, then
that's up to them.
Now you know. Right? So you know.
Yeah. I feel like you can only judge an employee on what happens in the workplace, and so if they choose to tell you not to tell you these things and they choose not to tell you these things, what I would say, though, is all the employees that are telling you and bringing this information back to you, that you tell them, okay, well, they hadn't shared that with me. So I would encourage you to have that employee share those things with me. I want to help them work through what they are feeling. I would be happy to hear, what they feel like we can improve on in our department, what they feel like is not working well in our area. I'd be happy to hear that so that I could help, fix those things. But they haven't shared that with me. So I encourage you to have them share that with me.
Exactly. And each organization has a social media policy. And unfortunately, we have disciplined and even had to end people's employment with the organization due to some things that they posted on social media. There were times when, I'm sure inadvertently, someone had posted and it had tagged the organization. And so now you're stating where you're at. The organization's name came up and you said something inappropriate. So, you are now attaching yourself to this organization stating, I hate these people. Well, we serve the community. We serve our patients. And so, anyone looking could feel as though our, system hates this. And so, you have to be mindful that what you post, even though you could have your privacy settings to friends, you'll be amazed at how many friends I have, sat next to at the table that have ratted out their friend and say, look what they're posting. And it's, because of things they said about their boss, things they said about the organization. So I would say, just like you said, no matter if you delete it or not, people can snapshot it, people can do all kind of things, screenshot your information and send it to whomever. So if you post something, I think you need to, be bold enough and understand that it's out there, and sometimes you have to deal with the consequences that happen to it.
That's a slippery one because everybody has social media.
Well, this is media, right? We're using this forum to answer these difficult conversations, these difficult questions from people who listen to this podcast, and we're doing it to be helpful, but there may be somebody out there that gets offended or that doesn't like our answer. Again, we're not trying to tell you this is the rule. This is just how we would answer this question. So it's subjective. It's our opinion, and that's usually what is on social media, right? I mean, 1 minute somebody's together, then they're breaking up, but if you're doing it about work, I think when COVID started, this happened a lot. People were saying, well, so-and-so's posting that, she's just exhausted and she just posted a picture of her face and looks like, like she's just crappy. And it's like, well, she said she's okay, I haven't had any complaints, but what are you supposed to do about it? If that, like you said, if these people are that concerned and maybe they're offended or they're hurt, then they can have that conversation amongst themselves. If they're friends with them, then. But if I go and I'm not friends with you, you're going to be like, well, how did you see that?
Hello. And again, these are just the thoughts and opinions of Stephanie, Kristine, and Joyce. We are by no means saying that if you're in this situation, this is how you should handle it. These are just our opinions as we discuss and go through really what we know from the scope of what we read on a piece of paper. I would just add that, you know what? Anything can go viral. Gorilla Glue Girl probably did not think she was going to go viral.
Oh, my God.
And she was a national staple for Gorilla Glue. I mean, Gorilla Glue was posting about Gorilla Glue, and,
that stuff works. Woo!
That stuff works. And, it was a great advertisement for their product because I didn't even know they had it in aerosol spray. I just thought it was like in a bottle. But anything can go viral at any moment. So I agree with Kristine and Joyce. Just be careful what you post because you just never know. You just never know. Do we have time for one more?
If we do, we
make it quick.
Can. All right,
Last one.
Go for it.
Last one. I think this will be a quick one, too, because it's not that bad.
Okay.
So picture yourself in this scenario, right?
Okay.
Your organization invests in you because these are investment. You know, your organization sends you to a conference. This is pre-COVID, so you get to go somewhere.
All right.
Well, we're getting ready to start meeting again, meeting and greeting, hopefully.
So this, you know, your organization invests the time and the money to send you to a conference where you go to this conference and you learn some really great information. You just feel inspired to come back and just use everything you learned. Every session, every speaker was amazing. You networked. You know, you got the pins. To prove it, you took notes, and you are really excited to come back and bring all of these ideas to leadership. I mean, you learned how to standardize, collaborate, overutilize, underutilize, productivity-ize, all the I's. You learned it all. So how do you approach administration to best gain their support and acceptance to allow you to implement these ideas and hopefully gain influence in the organization? So it sounds like this person went to a conference, you know, learned all these new ideas, but now they are timid to approach their leadership on how to implement these things. So I don't know if they've been turned down before or maybe if they just don't feel confident enough to approach their leadership. But I would say your leadership invested in you enough to send you to a conference. And to me, as a leader, like I said, sending you a conference is an investment. I'm investing the time. I'm investing because you're away from work. I'm investing the money on the hotel or the flight or at least the registration fee for the conference. I would like for you to bring back. That's the expectation for me, that you bring back what you've learned. There's no other reason to go to a conference besides for you to bring back all the great ideas that you have collaborated with all these people nationally, possibly even internationally with, to learn all these great best practices. I don't know what kind of conference this is, but to learn all these great best practices, you know, I would be hopeful that you would bring that back so we could try to figure out how to implement those things. I hope you got some business cards. I hope you got some names and some phone numbers.
Some meetings set
up some meetings. And, you know, if you are up to it, I would like for you to lead some of these initiatives. You know, you're the one that went to the conference. I trusted you to go to the conference because I believed that you could lead this from beginning to end. So have confidence in yourself. You know, step up.
Exactly. And that's what I think, you know, exactly what you're telling this person. Have confidence, be courageous, be bold. It's best to be prepared. Like I said, you know, you have prepared. Yeah, you have all of this information, right? All of these different ideas. Make sure it's clean and cut. Maybe put a PowerPoint presentation together, bullet points, some initiatives and ideas that you have to present. Maybe present them, practice in the mirror, or, you know, with the kids or something, and get it to your boss and let them know the things that you learned and how you would like to share and the possibilities of how this could change the department, the teams, and even the organization. I know I personally had did that and pitched it to my VP. She was excited, and there you go. I rolled out the eJoyce, the avatar that was this HR spunky lady that was able to text to all of the leadership throughout our organization on HR tips. And it was the same thing. I had this crazy idea after coming back from a conference, and she loved it. I thought it was kind of goofy, but she loved it, and so there it goes. So I definitely encourage you to just get out there and speak to who you need to speak to about a new idea. What do you have to say?
Well, two things. One thing is I agree. It's your confidence that's going to get you even in the door to even go to the conference, right? So somehow a discussion was had, and the way I did it, because I had everybody wanting to go everywhere, was we have this application for a conference. If you're going to go to a conference, you fill this out, you say why you want to go and what you're going to bring back. And you look through the brochure and you tell me what sessions you're going to go to and let me know what you're going to bring back. And then it gets approved or not approved, and then we pay for it. So the expectation is already that when you go, you have a plan. And then you come back with well, I did this, this, or this.
Yeah.
But if that's not done, so that to me is the pre-work, right? I'm sending
Right.
you, I'm investing the expectations. The expectation is I cannot send the whole group. You will go to this one and you will go to this one, but you will come back with this and you will come back with this.
Yeah.
And then we'll do a presentation, like you said, however you think it should be disseminated in the meeting, however. The other thing is how you approach administration. You go in with your PowerPoint and say, I want to present this to the group. Is next Thursday's meeting okay, or should we set a different time? And let your supervisor know that, hey, you mean business and you didn't go mess around. And this is not to say to force it, but to be confident. This is what I put together. Do you want to look at it? I'd like to show it to the group on Thursday. You want to look at it first? You want to show the VP? You know, if you want to make any changes or, you know, whatever. And I think just going in with that confident attitude instead of like, would it be okay if, like, maybe someday I could possibly.
Possibly, maybe.
Well, I would tell the person, think about this from the reverse. Consider from your boss's point of view, if they send you to a conference, you're gone for a week or a couple of days.
Right.
You come back and you say nothing.
You act like that, yeah.
You know, think of how it looks from that vantage point.
Right.
It looks like we wasted our time.
Let's tie that in with the one before. They see all these pictures of you on the boat and pictures of you with the slot machines and the drinks. They're like, what did I send them to?
What did I send them to? You know what I mean? They stayed the whole time in the social hour.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, I would consider, you know, if you want to be considered to go to other conferences and go to a conference again, then show that you can create value from bringing back the ideas you learned from this one. Be confident, be prepared, you know, but be confident and, you know, just believe in yourself, you know. Yeah, they believe in you to go take you to the conference, so they trust that you're going to bring back everything else. Well, this was good.
It was. And you know what? At the end of the day, almost every one of these different scenarios, it's about confrontation.
Communication,
you know? Communication, being clear and concise with what you want, you know. So, yeah, and that's huge. And a lot of people can't do that. And that's what a lot of times I start off by saying you have to be mature, you have to be bold, you have to believe in yourself, because it's difficult sometimes confronting people with how you feel. Yeah. Because you don't know how they're going to accept it. You don't.
That's a skill.
It is a skill.
Yeah, because it's almost, you know, sometimes you feel insecure or someone could not accept. That's kind of that biggest fear. What if they don't accept me or what I'm trying to express?
Yeah, but I always tell people, look at the other side. What will happen to you if you don't communicate? Right. In all of these scenarios, think about our main advice or our main suggestion on every scenario has been to communicate that this is bothering you. Communicate that there is an issue. Talk to somebody about your problem that you're having. And if you don't feel comfortable doing that, think about what happens if you don't communicate.
Right.
Your team continues to suffer. You continue to suffer. You become more unhappy. So, you know, it takes a chance and communicate, because what are you losing? It's not going to get any worse.
Well, acts of omission. I mean, there's something to say for not saying anything.
Right.
Those sometimes get you in trouble, too.
Right.
You don't say anything, and then somebody comes and says this and this. Oh, I know, that's been happening forever. Well, why didn't you say anything? You know?
So that 30 seconds of embarrassment, you know, I think is worthwhile versus getting change, getting something to, you know, a process or some. Being heard is more valuable than that, I think, little embarrassment that you may receive.
Or vulnerability. You know, maybe not even embarrassed. The possibility that you could be is worth it. Yeah. Because in the long run, if you don't say anything or you don't document, that's another thing, do your documentation. If somebody's worried about something, I always just say, well, just document it. And that's all you. I didn't see it, so I'm not going to do anything. But if you feel that confrontation happened and you want to document, then you document that, and, you know, that's all you can do.
And if you guys want help on how to communicate or some skills, Kristine and Joyce and I all do mentoring, so be sure to comment, reach out to us. We'll put Kristine and Joyce's contact information in the show notes, so just reach out to us if you want to have some mentorship or some private time or ask for some additional questions. Be sure to comment, reach out to us. Let us know if you've experienced any of these, or if you've had some different things, or if you've got other scenarios that you want us to break down. Because we will break them down and overflow your cup with a lot of tea. So
there's lots of surprises too.
Yeah, we've heard about everything.
Yeah. Heard it all.
So, like I said, be sure to comment about our scenarios that you are experiencing now or you may have previously experienced, and we will discuss them on upcoming shows. Give us your thoughts on how you would handle any of these, and just let us know what you think about this episode. Thank you, ladies, for taking out the time.
Thank you.
For taking the time, the busy schedule, and the opportunity to roundtable with me today. It was an honor and a pleasure having you a guest. Again, it's always fun. It's always fun when you guys come into our studio. Thank you for listening and tuning in to our show with our special guests, Kristine and Joycelyn, who are sharing with us human resources and how we're going to handle all of these workplace scenarios. If you like what you heard today and you want to listen to previous shows, look up some of the previous shows that I have with Kristine and Joyce in the show notes. I've listed all of them there. Be sure to subscribe to our show on directimpactbroadcasting.com. You can tune in using Apple, Google, Spotify, or any of your favorite podcast platforms. Be sure to follow me on any social media. We already talked about that. Yeah. But I'm Stephanie Whitehead on all of my platforms, so I make it very easy. Be sure to tune in next week to another amazing episode of eLABorate Topics. And until then, have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of eLABorate Topics, where your hosts discussed relevant strategies for laboratory professionals. Please subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and listen to us on directimpactbroadcasting.com. Stay tuned for another episode with information you can use to excel in your laboratory career.